Hey everybody, welcome to the next video in the AP Macro series. Today we're going to start with our very first real graph that you'll actually get to really interact with. And it's something we're all really familiar with. We've heard it a lot. It's supply and demand. I'm apologizing in advance because since I'm not very good with the tablet, they will look a little funky, so bear with me. Okay, here is the basic graph. All of your economics graphs are going to be like that. You're going to have your y-axis and your x-axis. For the supply and demand graph, the y-axis is always going to indicate price level, while the x-axis will indicate quantity. So here's the demand curve looks like. That's it. So why is the demand curve downward sloping from the top to the bottom? So let's look at this. Okay, so right here, let's make this price $8 because it's far up, and make this price $2. So here at $8, notice how the dotted line goes down to the quantity, the x-axis, and it's not very high, not a high quantity. Let's say it's going to be 20. But where it's $2, when it hits the demand curve and goes down to the quantity axis, it's a lot of quantity because it's far from the origin. So that indicates a lot of quantity. Let's make this 90. So here's the correlation here. As the price gets higher, you're going to want less of that product. Because think about it. Are you going to buy more gum for $1? Or are you going to buy more gum for $5? Obviously, you're going to buy a lot less of the $5 gum than the $1 gum. The amount, the quantity that you want at a certain price, for example, you want 20 gum pieces if they're $8, that's called quantity demanded. Quantity demanded is very simple. As I said, it just shows the correlation between the price and the quantity we're going to demand. So, if it's $8, according to the graph, we're going to want 20 quantity demanded, and if it's $2, we're going to want 90. Our quantity demanded for $8 is 20, and our quantity demanded for $2 is 90. That's pretty simple. Quantity demanded. So, if you ever see on an AP exam or on a prep book, it says a movement along the demand curve. What that means is the price has changed, and so the quantity demanded changed. Because look, we have one point over here on the demand curve, and then one over here. One for $2, one where the $2 hits the demand curve, and one where the $8 hits the demand curve. Those are 2 points on the demand curve. So movement along the demand curve is a movement from one point to the other, sort of like this. Let's say we decrease the price from 8 to 2. There was a movement along the demand curve from the $8 point to the $2 point. So the quantity demanded increased from 20 to 90 due to a decrease in price from $8 to $2. That's how it happens. Whenever the price increases, quantity demanded will decrease, and whenever the price decreases, quantity demanded will increase. So let's move on to the next subject, the supply graph, the supply line, supply curve. So while the demand curve looked like this, supply curve is gonna, let me just make the graph, make it bigger, easier for you guys to see. Supply curve is gonna look like this. Supply, S. Now here's why that is. Sort of like the opposite of demand. Let's make some points. Let's do that again. $8, $2. Okay, so $2 make that, what was it, 20 and 90. So here's the supply curve is. The supply curve is in terms of the producer, the person supplying it. So let's call this the gum manufacturer. I'm gonna abbreviate manuf. The manufacturer, the guy who makes the gum. So if the guy who makes the gum can sell the gum for $2, he's gonna make less gum than he can sell for $8. Because let's think about it. If you're the one selling the gum, would you rather sell it for $8 or $2? Obviously, when you're selling it, you want the higher price. So, when it's a higher price, it's going to hit the supply curve at a higher, further point, and that means down here, the quantity will be larger. Quantity, price. The quantity will be larger because since you can get a higher price for it, you're going to want to sell more, therefore you're going to want to make more. If it's a lower price, like $2, you're going to make less of a profit, so you're going to make less. You're less enticed to make that product, that gum. So just like a movement along the demand curve was called, which shows the comparison between the quantity demanded, a movement along the supply curve is the quantity supplied. That's what will change. So at a given price, for example, $8, if you move across from the $8 to the supply curve, you hit the supply curve and you move down. That quantity that you hit down here, that 90, that's going to be your quantity supplied. That's the amount the supplier is willing to make at a given price, in this case $8. So that's the supply and demand curve. And to see the next video with both of them in action in one graph, just go to the next subject, and I'll see you there.